Hi everyone, this is Lori from My File Addiction. In this tip video, we're going to talk about the importance of purchasing or keeping a variety of different pre-stone fonts on hand. If that's how you want to start creating your designs by using fonts and letters that are already stone for you, if you're not comfortable doing it yourself. If you choose to do it that way, you have to learn that there's going to be no one font or just a few fonts that are going to be a kind of a one size fits all for all the designs that you're going to make. This is probably got to be one of the hardest things that people, that especially coming from people that created their t-shirt designs based on cutting vinyl or printing, where they were able to kind of type out the word and just resize it to any size that they want. Okay, rhinestone rhinestone lettering is not like that, because when we design the letters, we are using a fixed size object. And what I mean by the fixed size object is the circle that makes up or that cuts the hole for the stones to fall into. So if you wanted to use SS10 stones to create your wording, your circles have to maintain a certain circle size. And sometimes you only have the ability to put so many circles in a certain amount of space. And we also have to take into consideration that between our circles we have to leave space. So no matter what, two circles together is always going to be the same amount of width, where so the more circles that you add to the thickness of the letters, the wider the letter is going to become. Okay, so I know everybody likes to use thicker letter styles because yes, creates more sparkle and that kind of stuff, but you can't use thick letters and put a lot of them together. Okay, so there's kind of a give and take, and so I'm going to kind of break that down for you. So here you can see I have the word bride, and each one of these letter styles is an inch and a half thick, or inch and a half tall. Okay, so I wanted to compare apples to apples so you can kind of see. So it's based on the letter style, the letter thickness, and you can see it just gives you a variety of different sizing for one word. Okay, and it's a matter of whether you use all uppercase letters or upper and lowercase letters. Many don't realize that if you were to break apart and you type out a word and you break it apart, each letter in the alphabet really has its own unique size in a way. There's a few like letter E and letter F, maybe the letter L, that are all about the same width, but when you get to a letter I versus a letter W or a letter N or a letter O or a K, those can be all different widths. So basically, it's not only to say, oh, you can fit 5 letters in a certain amount of space. It depends upon what those letters are. If your letter, your wording has an I in it, that's the thinnest letter in the alphabet. So, or if you use a lowercase l, because that's basically an uppercase I. And so it really a lot goes into the process of picking out the correct lettering that's going to work for your word, and a lot of it's trial and error. I do it myself. I have customers that contact me all the time and say, I'm trying to spell out this word, what font do you suggest that I use? Well, I can't just magically say this is the font that's gonna work for you. I on the back side have to sit there and try to put the lettering together based on maybe the style, whether you want to use a script font or a something more traditional like the letters that are in front of me, um, and try to figure out to give my customer guidance. But then they purchase that font, and then all of a sudden they want to spell out another word, and it's not working. Well, it's because it's a new word, so it's a new width, okay? Um, so this kind of just gives you an idea, how you can have, numerous fonts, and you can get all different kinds of widths based on letter thickness and the letters that you're using um, to spell out your word. So, over here I have, um, you know, have the first three words here are 5-letter words. Okay, so this one has an O in it and has an N in it, letters that have um, slants to them, which are your A's, let's see, go through the alphabet, A's, K's, M's, N's, um, let's see, W's, V's, X's, Y's, I think that might be it. But anyways, anything that has a slant, a Z, anything that has a slant, it's going to take up much more space and make that letter wider because you need to have room in order to create the slant. You don't have ends where the center part of it is straight up and down, and that's essentially what you're doing if you're taking a slanted letter and you're trying to condense it. That is now going more straight up and down. We can't always create letters that are made like that, especially when you're talking letters that have more than one row of stones. So those are typically going to add width to your design. And the difference between using uppercase and lowercase. This is another conversation I had with a customer this week because she couldn't quite grasp that she wanted to spell out a word in all uppercase, and I told her it would fit in her range if she used a combination of upper and lowercase letters. But she couldn't understand. And it's because your lowercase letters tend to be not quite as wide as the uppercase version. Okay? With the N here, it doesn't have the slant anymore. So you just have to have enough room in order to create this extra hump here. And then you go to the word visit here, and this is so much shorter than these two versions because it has 2-letter I's in it that took up barely any space. Then we go to a 3-letter word here, which is the word wow. The letter W, which is the widest letter in the alphabet because it's almost like putting 2-letter V's together with a slight overlap. So, whenever I'm working and I see a word that has a wow, a W in it, or an M at the the second widest letter is the letter M, I look at those and I count those almost as a letter and a half, a letter and 3/4, that kind of thing, because I know those are going to be taking up more room. Okay, so it would be different, and you have to take into consideration, is the W an uppercase or is it a lowercase? See, in this instance, just by switching these out to lowercase, I was able to make that word smaller. And then you replace, this is a 3-letter word also, but it has the letter I in it, and even though the N has a slant and it has, takes up a little bit more space, it's not as much as the word wow. So there's just, so much that goes into picking out fonts that are going to work for your lettering. I always kind of, suggest to my customers, don't always, get fixated on a letter style, because you could get your heart broken, because you won't be able to use it for what you want to use it. Okay. You have to keep an open mind when it comes to working with the rhinestone lettering, unless you want to design it yourself. And a lot of times, that's what I do for a lot of my designs, because, I couldn't get it to make it work with any of the fonts, that I already have designed. So I, in my head, visioned a word to look a certain way, to have a certain thickness to it. And so I created that. And excuse me, I'll have customers that come to me and say, do you sell the font for that word that you did? No, I don't necessarily do that, because, that particular font, the thickness I made it, or the height or the size I made it, worked for that word. Now, if I were to make all of the letters, and you decide to make a different, and you purchase that font, and you decided to put together a different word, it may or may not work. Okay, so it worked for the word that I used, but it's not necessarily going to work for every word that people are going to put together. So because of the time consuming process to create an entire alphabet based on, is it possible somebody's going to use this again or not? I tend to lean to not do the whole alphabet, because I may never ever use those letters again. When we design fonts that are usable, they're more on the level of, stuff like you're going to see here, or, I have if I go to my website here, I do sell a variety of, let's see. Different script lettering. And again, it's different sizes. I've got some thinner versions, because, somebody may want, like, this particular font is one of my more popular ones. Well, because it can't, here I gave an example with the letter W. If you spelt out wonderful, you're talking almost, 12 and a half inch design. That's never going to fit on somebody's shirt, because that W is just so swirly and wide. So, I would make a smaller, thinner version of it. Okay. So you might be able to, it might not be the letter size that you want, or because it doesn't contain, this has got a combination of 1 and 2 rows of stones, where this is just all 1 row. It may not be exactly what you envision using, but this size might be the only one to use to make your wording fit the size that you need it to be. Excuse me. So it's all about just trial and error. That's all I can say. And there's really no easy way to do it besides keep trying and error, trying it over and over again to see what's going to work. And you have to have a decent font collection in order to do the trial and error. Okay, if not, then you are left to either trying to stone the lettering yourself, or paying somebody if you find somebody that does custom work or whatever. And that's a lot of my customers used to hire me to do that. I don't make custom designs anymore, but I did a lot of that work for them because they didn't want to do it themselves. But in any case, so this video, like I said, is just going to touch base on, you know, the reason that you should keep a variety of fonts in your collection. I will be doing another video, another tip video, that's going to show you how you can take these pre-stone letters and make some minor adjustments to them to possibly fit the word into the space that you need it. This is talking minor adjustments, so you can't take a 12-inch word and expect to reduce it down to 8 inches, doing the method that I'm going to show you. But if you're within sometimes inch, maybe inch and a half, maybe 2 inches at the very max, just depending on the letter style we're dealing with, you could possibly make some changes to those letters, which could reduce it down, and it still gives you the capability to use that particular font. So I will show you in another video, and we'll go through that. So if you like this video, I hope you give it a thumbs up, and please hit the subscribe button so that you can be alerted when I release any other new tip videos. So thanks for watching.